cruise turned nightmare. This 18-year-old from Titusville died while on board the Carnival Horizon, and now the FBI is getting on board.
Anna Kepner died while on a Carnival cruise ship, and her passing was reported as the ship returned to Miami from the Caribbean. But authorities have made the whole thing a bit of a mystery by failing to offer any information about the circumstances around her death, even failing to reveal who she was traveling with at the time she died. Her family says Anna was a bubbly, straight-A student who was preparing to enter the military after graduating from high school in May. And she certainly seemed, at least from where we're sitting, like a healthy teenager.
So the FBI is telling us one thing, but the thing they're telling us, it ain't adding up. Not so ever. Stay tuned. Welcome. This is Fugitive TV, where we talk about cases, unsolved cases, missing people, all from a fugitive's perspective, because I was once a criminal and a fugitive myself. But today we are going to get in the case of Anna Kepner. Now, she was a young lady out of Florida, went on a cruise ship with her and her family, and it was to celebrate her life because she was about to graduate. She was 18 years old and was about to graduate, and she was planning on going to the military. So they were celebrating, her making this big leap forward of finishing school and, taking that next step. Well, what happened was on this cruise ship, nobody knows what happened. But we do know that Anna ended up unalived, and nobody knows how. They don't know what happened. They don't know nothing. And even the family, far as I know, is asking for answers because they're not even getting answers. Now, there is a bunch of speculation going around, and I'm going to tell you what the speculation is, what these allegations are supposed to be, if they're false, true, I don't know. Right now, it's speculation and allegations, but I'm going to let you guys know from doing all the research of what I saw, what people are saying could have happened, not happened, and everything else. Well, like I told you, Anna was on the cruise ship with her family. She was on there, I believe, with a couple of siblings and her father, and I think it was her grandmother too. And at first, the media wasn't telling much of who she was on a cruise ship with. Now they have. Well, like I said, they found her unalive on a cruise ship. Now, I'm going to get into when they actually found her, okay? And you let me know what sounds fishy to you. So, Anna Kepner died on a Carnival Cruise Horizon cruise ship, and her body was found when she returned to Port Miami on Saturday, November 8th, 2025. The Miami-Dade medical examiner confirmed she died on Friday, November 7th, 2025. All right? The FBI has launched an investigation into the 18-year-old high school senior mysterious death. The incident occurred while the ship was at sea, which falls under federal maritime law jurisdiction. The cause of death has not been publicly released. Now, the key part, which falls under maritime law jurisdiction. I'm going to explain and break that down for you guys when it comes to criminal activity on a cruise ship.
On a cruise ship in terms of like police and who investigates, and like if something happens while you're out at sea, who, I know the FBI gets on later when you come, back to port, but like who actually initially investigates?
Okay. Anna Kepner was a straight-A student, a varsity cheerleader from Titusville, Florida, known by the nickname Anna Banana. To her family, she planned to join the military after graduating high school in May of 2026. Now, as you see, the FBI got involved, the feds got involved. But the one thing that's kind of funny that some people are squinting their eye at is they actually released a time of when she passed away. Now, they're not telling us how, but they released not an approximate, but an exact timeline. That is before an autopsy, everything. But the FBI released an exact time. So how would they know the exact time? They're not telling nobody even how. So they are saying, according to Miami-Dade County Medical Examiner's Office, Anna Kepner's official time of death was recorded as 11:17 a.m. on Friday, November 7th, 2025. This precise time was noted in a preliminary report, though the official cause of death has not been publicly released pending the ongoing investigation. So, the ship returned on Saturday, right? But she died Friday morning, is what they're saying, at 11:17 a.m. Now, so far, there's no exact time of when the ship, arrived. They know, but they haven't given out, or I haven't found it. But it's anywhere between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. when the ship usually returns from that cruise. So pretty much they're saying it returned back in a little under 24 hours after she passed. Now, crimes that happen on cruise ships are totally different than crimes that happen on land. One reason is because they're out in waters sometimes as international waters. Sometimes there is no right, or I should say not right, but I should say no jurisdiction in some of those waters. So jurisdiction will fall sometimes under a different country, just depending on where you're at in the water. Sometimes it can fall, back to our country if we have a line on that water and we're on that side. And one of the biggest things is these cruise lines really don't have police. They don't have police officers. There's no police really on them. They got security.
That's a great question, Brian. And I think it's really something that's so unique about cruise ships. There is no independent law enforcement on a cruise ship. The only law enforcement are the cruise ship security guards. And that creates a really unique dynamic where whenever anything bad happens, it's the cruise ship employees that are the first people on site. And in my opinion, and in my experience, there's a lot of incentive for the cruise ship employees to try to protect the company. In fact, that's their job. So it's hard for me to really say that there's any independent investigation done initially when something bad happens. It's really not until the FBI gets on or local law enforcement gets on. But that's what's so unique about cruise ship cases. And even in prosecuting them for as many years as I have, I can't just go on a cruise ship when something bad happens on a cruise ship. I have to wait for it to come to port. I have to get access. They're following you around when they're on the cruise ship. So there's a real evidence and information imbalance between the public and even the FBI versus what's actually going on the cruise ship right when something bad happens.
But there's no police. So what would happen is if a crime like this occurs, like what happened with Anna, the security would take over and then they would do the investigation and they would ask these criminal questions and things like that. Now, no knock to the security on these cruise ships, but do you think security on the cruise ships get the same training as law enforcement here on land or as the FBI, do in Virginia or wherever their home headquarters is, Quantico or whatever?
Happens.
So it's literally security guards. Like let's say there was on a cruise ship, just hypothetically, like you literally have just security guards showing up initially.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. There's no question about that. There's been pushes by Congress in the past to try to have like the equivalent of a marshal on a cruise ship, like they have on airplanes sometimes, to create some level of independence. Doesn't exist. If a happen, it is entirely the cruise line that is investigating it. And I can tell you, in my opinion, in my experience, I've seen situations involving crimes on cruise ships, most notably rapes and sexual assaults, where the victim comes forward and something bad happens, and the cruise employees are bending over backwards to get the person to not report it. Why? Because they want to protect the cruise line.
Do you think they get that same training? And if not, what questions do they leave out? What details do they not write down? Right? Now, when the ship came back, they took her body off the ship. And on a regular crime scene, right? A regular one, like if something happened in your house right now or whatever it is, especially it's a crime scene, they're going to mark it off with yellow tape. We all know that, so nobody can go in there and, mess up any evidence. And they're going to have that yellow tape and nobody can enter until they're done.
So to the extent it can be contained, any company's going to want that to be contained.
Do you think, though, if this was not a homicide, I used to be a local reporter in Miami, like Carnival would be getting the word out even sort of like hush hush that it's not. I mean, it seems unusual now that it's been more than a day and the official line is still just that the FBI is investigating. And if it, it makes me wonder if there's something there beyond just like an overdose or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get where you're going, Brian, and I'm a Miami native also. So I have seen those situations where if it seems like it's disputed, the cruise line will give a little nugget that it was something. Like as an example, like there was the Disney case recently where the child went overboard and the dad jumped him after. I think there was some subtle messages that they were trying to blame the parents for putting the child. Now, is that the truth or not? That remains to be seen. But I do think there's a lot of subtle efforts from the cruise line where applicable, that they will try to put blame on the passenger or the victim. Again, no surprise. Here, not having seen that, I don't want to guess out of respect for the family because who knows what really happened, but that would certainly make me think that it was something more benign.
On a cruise ship, it's a little different because there's no police. The security guard does it. So what happens is the body comes off. Regular FBI will come on aboard. And sometimes even local law enforcement, just depends on where that cruise ship left from or where it came back to. But they'll come aboard and maybe ask, they might not ask every single passenger. There's a lot of passengers on that cruise ship. They would be there all day. So they might not ask every single passenger, hey, what happened? Did you hear anything? They're pretty much going to ask the immediate family, the friends that were with them, and maybe a few people who witnessed something, of course, or a couple of the captains across next door, see if they heard something. They would get interviewed. Besides that, they might go into the cabin, do some, write some stuff down, take documentation, some pictures, leave. And then what happens is everybody who paid for their cruise that's going to hop on the ship next, they're coming aboard. That room either gets blocked off or that room gets cleaned. Depends on how bad it is. And people are coming aboard the cruise ship and the cruise sails out again like nothing happened.
And the other thing I noticed is the ship, the FBI got on when the ship came in. They had the evidence trucks and everything, but then the ship left. I mean, it continued on, I guess, whatever, the new people got on and it moved on. If there was some big investigation or person on the loose or unsolved crime, like would they have just let the ship go like that?
So I think that's a great point. Assuming the ship turned around like it usually would, that would indicate to me that, again, it was something that the FBI was able to quickly investigate. And you have to remember, again, you've got nothing but independent law enforcement until the FBI and local law enforcement get on the vessel hours later. Definitely a period of hours. In that situation, they're coming on, and it's those same cruise security guards going to say, this is what our investigation has revealed. Of course, the FBI is going to do its own investigation, but it's certainly going to be largely influenced by what the cruise line presents to them. Cruise line's going to present to them video. They're going to have tracked the movements of Anna. They may have taken witness statements. They definitely would have pulled her drink receipts. Of course, she's 18, so she shouldn't be drinking, but any purchases. So they're going to have put together a pretty complete picture of what they think happened. And then, again, the fact that the cruise line was able to turn around so quickly, assuming it was, that would be indicative that it was able for the FBI to quickly investigate it, rather than something where if the vessel was, kept in port for a week, that would make me think that something really unusual happened.
And you mentioned
Like nothing happened. And because of that, the crime scene never gets a thorough investigation. Think about this. They're only on a ship for a couple hours, right? Asking people questions. Have you guys been on a ship? Those ships are huge. So if something does happen, if you decide to do something to somebody on one of these cruise ships, how many places could you hide something, an individual at that? There's a lot of places that, hidden places on those ships that could be hidden from plain sight because they're not, it would take a whole, I would say not an army, but I would say a whole force of people on one of those cruise ships to thoroughly do an investigation to go from floor to floor to floor. Because there's a lot of floors, a lot of rooms, a lot of detail on those ships, a lot of everything. And then the small ships that they have connected to the big ship, just in case the big ship sinks. I mean, then they got to look in the small, it's a lot. The kitchens, where the engines is at, all the bathrooms, the plenty of restaurants. Some of these cruise ships have 3, 4, 5 restaurants, the dance clubs. So it will be almost like searching through a little town. So it's a lot. So the jurisdiction is different. And not only that, cruise ships play by a different rule. You got to remember, cruise ships is a business, right? Most of these cruise liners aren't even LOC'd or registered. The ship itself is not registered under US. It's registered under some Bahama territory, some island, or something like that. Because why? They get to avoid taxes. That's one. Things are cheaper, and that's why they do this. And because of that, it's not like the ship is an American piece of property half the time. It's, it belongs, the LOC belongs somewhere else. So there's a bunch of loopholes. There's a bunch of things these ships get to get away with because of that. Now, I'm not saying it's the ship's fault. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is there's a reason why not just Anna, but any of these other people that go on cruise ships and end up missing or unalive, why it remains a mystery. Now, there is cameras aboard. FBI did say they're looking at cameras. So if they're looking at cameras and they know the exact time, why aren't they telling us exactly what happened? Now, there is speculation on what happened. I'm not confirming any of this, but I'm just going to let you know what they're saying has happened. There's rumors going around that they found her with poke wounds, okay? That she was unalive by somebody else. That's one of the rumors. I don't know who started this. I don't know if it's true. I don't know any of that. So I'm not going to, double down on that and let you guys know that, that's true. I don't even know myself. So I'm trying to research that to see who would have said something. Now, there's people that were on the ship. Some people on the ship are saying that, hey, there's 2 guys that were getting arrested when the ship got docked. 2 guys got arrested. Now, here's the thing. If somebody does get arrested on the cruise ship, they're probably not going to go out with the rest of the people in handcuffs. They probably have a holding cell on the cruise ship. I'm pretty sure they do. And they might have a different way to bring them out. Who knows? But some people are saying 2 people got arrested. Now, that does not mean these 2 people were involved in Anna's situation, because some of these cruise ships, what they do is they run your name, and sometimes they run to see if you have any warrants. And if you got any warrants, sometimes they'll alert the authorities when you get back. So they might know you got a warrant the whole time, but when you get back, you getting arrested. And police will come on and arrest you. So they're not saying exactly, what's going on or why they got arrested, but there's a couple other people that are saying it was an OD situation, that she OD'd off something. I mean, she was 18, could have been partying and OD'd. Some people are saying it goes back to her last post that she put on her TikTok. It looks like she broke up with somebody, and she's telling somebody basically, you can't be with me, and some other things. It kind of relates to that. So some people are putting that together and mixing it with the OD situation. Like I said, I don't know. I can't confirm any of this. Somebody even said that the grandmother came out and said that she was unalived by somebody. I can't confirm that either. There's a lot of speculation that's going around because it's nothing but a big mystery, because the police, the FBI don't want to tell nobody nothing. And supposedly the family don't even know. All I know is there is 200 people per year that, for some odd reason, get unalived on a cruise ship. Now, I don't know how many of those 200 they solve. I don't know, but I know the number. And in some cases, it could be higher than that, because that could be publicly what they want us to know, because after all, this is a business. So something happens on their cruise line, they're going to want to cover that up as best as they can. So let's say if it was somebody getting unalive, they might not want to tell anybody, because then people are going to get scared to buy tickets to get on this cruise ship. So you got to think about that. If you heard of this story, please let me know. Even if you knew heard of her, let me know. Like I said, there's not too much like true information I can find on this. All right. Rest in peace to Anna. My condolences go out to her family. She was young. She had a bright future ahead of her. She was going to the military to serve our country. And it's sad that this had to happen this way, to her, no matter what it was. Okay. That shouldn't have happened, especially on a family vacation where everybody's trying to enjoy her future of life. All right. Please let me know what city you're from. Like, subscribe. Not only like, subscribe, please hit the notification bell so you can get updates on everything I bring you, okay? I'm loving the comments. You guys have been doing a fantastic job making me want to do this all the time for you guys, all right? This is Fugitive TV. I'm out.